when you love yourself enough to hold a boundary when it's been crossed multiple times and still do it with compassion, it takes a lot of discipline, for one. It takes a lot of emotional awareness. It takes a lot of understanding that people are going to people, and not holding someone against it, holding someone against their actions, that they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Someone can make their choice, but you can also make yours. And yours can be a personally loving choice, like stepping away, for example. And that doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't, even if they respond, well, you abandoned me, or and then they attempt to guilt trip you, which does happen. And so this is why it's so important to be aware that, and that's why I love your personal boundary. And I brought that one up about the saying no. And I'm really glad you expressed the rest of it about saying yes, and all sides of it with choice. Is that in this, that's a beautiful example of embodying that one. Because you're holding to the one boundary, but by doing that one boundary, you're also holding all of them. And that's a beautiful space of self-love, connection, understanding, and understanding not only for yourself, but of other people, and being compassionate to that. Hey, people are still going to make mistakes, but you're also going to be compassionate enough that you know that you deserve better than that action, especially when it's been communicated multiple times. And you don't have to be mean or rude, or you can just step away, and that's enough. And if they respond positively to that, then great. And especially when you take the time, what I found with you and I, for example, is like when we've taken the time to understand each other's boundaries, there might be moments where we unintentionally cross those boundaries, and that doesn't make us love each other less. It's just because we're human and we make mistakes, and that's going to happen, and it's not the end of the world. Even though you've told me, or I've told you a bunch of times over the last 10 plus years, it happens every once in a while, and you don't hold me to it and I don't hold you to it. It's just a quick reminder, but we snap right back in, and we respect each other, and it pulls us back, and it actually brings us closer. Right. And that's why, and I'm saying this as ideally a segue into step 3, which is to let go of the outcome or the control of that outcome in any way, shape, or form. Because again, you don't know what people are going to do. You can only direct your own actions. But it doesn't always have to be a negative outcome. It can be, the more that we've shared ours, and the more that we've even changed ours and adjusted and updated and then shared those with each other. And even sometimes when we make a mistake and it's like, oh, I had the other one in mind and I didn't apply the new one. And, and there's that mistake. It's we've always given ourselves grace. We've always shown each other with compassion. And ultimately it's brought us closer because we know how to interact with each other with the least amount of friction. And ultimately, isn't that such a great goal when it comes to building a quality relationship, is to know how to interact with each other with the least amount of friction?
I think so. I mean, I know for some people, they really feel like friction creates diamonds. Pressure creates diamonds. I love the fact that we have low amounts of friction because it creates so much space for innovation, growth. It's amazing what is possible when your energy isn't going toward things that are not progressing you forward. So I would say yes. But again, everybody has their own perspective of what moves their needle forward. So we'll leave that open. But we also did start just so everybody is aware, it's easy to be where we are now and share to where we are now. But I don't want anyone to have the perception that we didn't start with needing to walk out because boundaries were not being honored, right? We've gone through all the different stages, which is how we have the experience to say, this is how a progression could go. when you and I first got together, even as mentor friend moving in, there was a stage where I would communicate boundaries and you would do your best to honor those boundaries, but you were in a very different space of your progression. And so I could have done better at communicating that I'm stepping away, and I didn't do that. So I had room for growth, and I would just step out of a room. I'd be like, I'm taking a minute, and I would just walk out. And that fed into your abandonment issues. So we were navigating through quite a lot. I felt I was honoring what I had committed to myself I would do as far as personal boundaries were concerned, because my communication boundary was being violated. You were clueless. You were just, why is she taking a minute? Why is she leaving me? This is it. That means she's done with me and she's not going to keep helping me. So your whole feel of, why am I being abandoned by somebody who's supposed to be helping me, was struck in. So we both learned a lot through that process when it came to boundaries and what was needed for boundaries. And that helped you start setting your boundaries. And that helped me refine my boundaries and my guiding principles, given that my guiding principle was do all things with loving actions. That was not the most loving action. I should have communicated better as to why it was happening. And it helped me understand that I needed to give you copies of my boundaries and guiding principles so you were aware of what was occurring.
Definitely. Yeah. And even into our relationship, it was in the beginning stages as well. I had such a strong trigger around leaving. So even though you had clearly communicated, and that is one of the responses that is you walk away, it was so hard for me to get through that core wound of mine. And so what I lovingly asked of you was to say, hey, if I ask you to stay, will you stay? And most of the time you did. And when you didn't, you clearly explained why. Like, hey, I want to stay. I respect your boundary here in this moment. This is why I need to step out. And I will come right back. I need to collect my thoughts, or I don't want to say, this is one I loved when you would share this, because it's like, I don't want to say something that I don't mean. And I need time to understand what I mean so I can effectively communicate back to you what I truly feel and mean. Even that I understood. Then it didn't feel like you were walking away or leaving me or abandoning me. There was intention, there was purpose of why you were leaving the room. And so that helped me move through my own trauma struggles, and then it helped me create an effective new approach, because moving through life constantly feeling abandoned is not a great guiding principle.
Yeah. No, it doesn't help
It is
anyone.
not. It doesn't help anyone, and it doesn't help me. So, it was a way that I could learn how to move through my trauma, create a new guiding principle centered in confidence and connection of authentic self, and recognize that if someone leaves, for example, um, that I can get to a point of healing where I'm healed enough to where that doesn't interrupt my internal world. Asking someone to either stay or express why is a fair clarifying question,
It is.
in especially in some kind of argument. And if someone can't provide that information in that moment, then there's a bigger aspect here to be discussed. And so that's why, yeah, taking the time to understand these and understand these core truths, um, sharing with compassion, and then letting go of the outcome, because I couldn't direct, even though I would have loved in all of the times for you to just stay with me, because I love being, even when we're having our arguments or something, or disagreements. I love being around you, and when you leave, it was like, yeah, I'd rather you, like, let's stick it through it, like, let's my way is like, I want to stay in it because I want to show that I'm here. If I left, then it means I wouldn't care. But everyone has a different approach to that. And
Mhm.
so it's a cool way for us to understand how we interact. And so what I ended up doing is saying, hey, I one of my core boundary guiding principles is that I will stay in it to show the other people or myself that I like that this is meaningful to me. But I will also grant myself the space that if I do need to leave, then I can, and I'll express why. And that gave me a whole new outlook on life, a whole new guiding principle on how I interact with the world, which is important because it allowed me to expand as a person versus keeping me in one way. And that's why releasing that outcome is so important.